2023 has been an interesting year for gamers. We had the highs of Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, and of course Starfield, and we had the lows of Gollum, Redfall, and Starfield. But in terms of the MMO genre, we haven't actually seen that much.
What the f*** is this piece of shit?
Sure, there's been a few expansions here and there, and of course we had the betas like Palia, Throne Liberty and Blue Protocol, but generally speaking, it feels like the MMO genre is in a shocking state. But don't panic, I'm here to help you. This year alone, I've played over 15 different MMOs, and with that comes a knowledge which almost rivals Josh Strive Hayes. In fact, hold that thought. Yes, this feels so much more natural. So join me as I take a look at some of the MMOs I've played this year and the current state of them. And before I get started, just a reminder, if you do like what you see and you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. There is one MMO in particular that I'm super excited for, and that is of course Ashes of Creation. Now unfortunately, it's not late to be released in the next 5 years, so I decided to play the inspiration behind that title, and that is of course ArcheAge. This game has had a lot of ups and downs, and some would argue mostly downs. Fundamentally on paper, ArcheAge is a great game. It has tons of character customization. You can tame and train your own mounts. You can construct and sail your own pirate ship. It even had a unique player-run justice system where you could go to court and potentially go to jail. And obviously it had all the basics on top of that, which included heaps of questing, loads of dungeons, and of course open world PvP if you're into that sort of thing. Sadly though, due to poor management by the devs, an overly aggressive pay-to-win system, and more owner swaps than a 20-year-old Ford Focus, the player population just dwindled off. The current player numbers are practically zero, so if you want a unique gaming experience in 2023, why not check out a dead MMO in the form of ArcheAge? There has been community-driven projects to try and revitalise the population for ArcheAge. One of significant note is of course ArcheAge Classic, which are player-run private servers where they try and strip away the monetization and pay to win and keep ArcheAge in its purest form. I'm still yet to try this out myself, but it definitely has piqued my interest. Fans of the game will also be happy to know that ArcheAge 2 is indeed in development, and you never know, they might just get it right this time around. Overall though, ArcheAge serves as a shocking reminder as to what aggressive pay to win and over monetization can do to an MMO title. So every other gamer in this video, please take note. Sticking to the theme of over-aggressive monetization and a declining population, let's take a look at The Elder Scrolls Online.
Ha! Got him!
Veterans of the channel will know that I no-lifed this game for 8 years, and it's how I got my YouTube channel started. At the start of the year, I took the decision to stand back from this game and not play it till next year, because quite frankly, the chapters and all the latest updates have been pretty abysmal. However, to show that I'm not completely biased, if you are new to The Elder Scrolls Online, there's a good chance you will enjoy it. There is a point though where it does kind of dip off, and that's mid-game and end-game. If you are expecting the game to look exactly like the trailers, then guess what? You're in for some disappointment. You should expect combat more on this level. That's not to say the combat is bad, it's just that it's not as advertised. ESO is what we like to call action combat, and it doesn't have tab targeting, which, you know, the most popular game in the world does, which is WoW, and ESO doesn't, so take what you will from that. ESO goes through quarterly updates where usually there's adjustments to the combat, armor, and skills. This does mean that you probably will have to go out and change your build and maybe even farm some new sets, so you are on this forever cycle of trying to keep up with the latest meta. Any positive changes are usually reverted back the following month for no apparent reason, and of course any game breaking bugs or game breaking metas are usually left in the game for months and months to come, or just left in the game altogether. But if you're wondering what kept me playing this game for so long, it was simply the PvP. No other MMO has quite scratched that itch as well as ESO has done when it comes to PvP combat in an MMO. But like always, they fucked it up, and for the last 5 years they've neglected it, and it's just dying a slow death. I predict this game will be free to play within a year's time. I mean, technically the game is pretty much as close to free to play as you can get, Just a couple of weeks back it was free on the Epic Games Store, and they usually hold free-to-play weekends throughout the whole year, which is why the player numbers always look so good, because there's always an influx of new players coming in, but none actually stick around. You will hear the devs throw around the stat that there's something like 22 or 23 million players.
Hello to everybody back home.
Congrats on 20 million players. Bullshit.
But how many of those are actually active? And you know what they say about free-to-play games? To make up for the fact that they're free, they're usually heavily monetized in a predatory manner.
Disgusting!
And yes, that's right, ESO is no different. Overall, if you like your in-game rewards such as mounts, costumes and skins to be locked behind a paywall, then you'll enjoy the Elder Scrolls Online loot box system, where 90% of anything worth getting in-game, you of course have to gamble for. If you was to name an MMORPG which is loved and praised by every single content creator out there on YouTube, you of course would be talking about Guild Wars 2. It's almost like a conspiracy theory as to why no one even says anything bad about this game. I hear you're a fan of Guild Wars 2.
I fucking love Guild Wars 2.
Why?
Things that are good with Guild Wars 2. Map. Just really, the whole game really beautiful. Looks outdated graphically, but the way the map is designed and the way the map is built is just really fun and really good looking. It's a fun game in terms of combat's fun. Sawman, come back! Where the fuck have you gone? Where have you gone? Did you just leave? Are you in the toilet or something? Because I was talking about Guild Wars 2. I'm scared. What if you've just died or something? What if something's happened? Okay, see ya.
But that's where I come in, because I personally am not a fan of the game.
Stop! You violated the law.
That's right. I've tried to play this game twice in the last couple of years, and I did try again this year, but I just can't get into it. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the combat, maybe it's the story, but for me personally, I just don't find it gripping enough. And if that makes me a bad person, then so be it.
You're a monster.
I do recognise though that it does actually have a pretty decent in-game cash shop. You don't have to spend money, you can literally convert in-game gold for the currency in the cash shop itself, and that's pretty damn cool. And there's no subsystem, it's just pay to play. As soon as you bought the game, you own it. So that's kind of nice, I like that. And they do release DLC quite often. In fact, there's some new DLC this year. So yes, I understand why people like Guild Wars 2, and it seems to be in somewhat of a good state because no one says anything bad about it. Maybe I'll give it another go. I don't know, get this video to 1,069 likes, and I promise to sink 20 hours into Guild Wars 2 at least. At least 20 hours, I think that's a fair deal. But anyway, I digress. In terms of what state Guild Wars 2 is in, well, a lot better than most of the games on this list. If we're going to talk about the shocking state of MMOs, then of course we have to talk about New World. This MMO is nearly 2 years old, and in that time it has evolved from what was once a buggy mess to just a concerning mess. This year saw New World release its first expansion, which was Brimstone Sands, and best of all, this expansion was free. It was almost like an apology for releasing such a shitty game. However, as time has gone on, Amazon as a company have realised that they need to make money off this game, and quite frankly, the cash shop where you can buy just cosmetics isn't quite cutting it.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
So as of February this year, New World decided to add pay to win, and that comes in the form of a premium battle pass. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you can pay to get ahead of your fellow players, and not only that, you can actually pay to skip ahead in the battle pass. But we're not done yet. How about you pay to get XP boosters as well? It's not technically pay to win, it's just pay to get up to speed. The in-game store content will not give players an advantage in PvE or PvP gameplay. Our goal is not to provide anything that players find to be pay to win for in-game store offers. No item in the store will give players instant lifts to their overall gear score, experience points, or impact territory control. And it gets even better. The new DLC is going to have some really cool features, and I'm pretty confident they won't be overpowered or affect the game in a major way whatsoever. So, what will players be missing out on if they don't buy the DLC, which costs as much as the game? You won't get access to a new weapon skill line, you won't get to ride on a mount, and you won't get the new heart rune, and you won't be able to access the old area that they now revamped. So, yeah, just your normal DLC, I guess. The sad thing is, I kind of expected this. I did point this out in my review of New World at the start of the year, that it's very likely they will go down a monetization route because they do need to make money. And sadly, for most MMOs, their business model is simply to add pay to win. Or as I like to call it, paid to be overpowered for a month or two before the devs decide to nerf it and balance the game again. They are also adding a new PvP arena for 3v3 and Outpost Rush, so that's something to look forward to. But the thing the game is lacking the most is just bigger servers, or a mega server. I mean, come on, wake up, it's 2023. Can we not have more than 2,500 people on a server? I mean, aren't you supposedly on Amazon Web Services, which are the best in the market? In terms of player population, it's always fluctuating. I'm sure the new DLC will bring us some fresh blood, and hopefully they'll stick around for longer than a month, but we'll find out, I guess. Despite the blatant pay to win, I am going to probably buy the DLC and play the game. Yes, it is a bit of a shocking state for the game, but do you know what? It's worth a go. I would say it's not the most shocking out of all MMOs in this video. Next on the list is Embers Adrift, which is a classic MMORPG which was released last year. It started off as a Kickstarter and had quite the rocky development cycle, but it did eventually get published. This game is full PvE with no PvP whatsoever, and they don't intend to change that.
Geeks, bruv. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It describes itself as a low fantasy RPG, so essentially there's no magic or wizards or any of that jazz, and funny enough, it's also quite low spec because it's using the Unity game engine. You won't be able to find this on the Steam store, you have to purchase it directly from the Embers Adrift website. So in terms of player numbers and popularity, I honestly couldn't put a number on it.
Stop! He's already dead.
It could be anything from 300 to 3,000, I just don't know. And there were some price issues at the start, which I was quite vocal about. Essentially, when I played, it was like a £40 price tag for the game itself, and then a subscription on top of that. They have changed it around now, so you can do a one-off payment to play the game, and the subscription is optional, which gives you some benefits. Which is kind of, I don't know, a bit of a grey area, because if they're giving you benefits for a subscription, and this game tries not to be paid to win, then it's a slippery slope from there. It does focus more on the social aspects of MMOs, which is nice to see, so if you are a solo player, you probably will struggle. And if you do like games such as EverQuest and RuneScape, there's a chance you might enjoy this. Personally though, this one wasn't for me, but I'm glad to see that the developers changed their price model and have even done a free play weekend. And of course, with the drama around the Unity game engine, who knows where this game will be next year. All I can say is, if there is a free to play weekend, it might be worth checking it out before you can't. With the massive hype and popularity around Baldur's Gate 3, I wouldn't be surprised if some of that rubs off onto NeverWinter, which is of course an MMO based on the D&D franchise. This MMO is almost 10 years old and is available for free on most platforms. The keyword obviously being for free, so guess what? It is heavily monetized. Yay! I didn't actually mind the combat in this game, and I felt like it did have some good mechanics, but unfortunately, the monetization is just so much in your face, I just didn't want to play this game anymore. This game is published and developed by Cryptic and Gearbox Publishing, who are just renowned for being very in your face with monetization. Practically within the first 30 seconds, you'll be gifted a loot box which you can't open unless you pay to actually open it. But it will sit there in your inventory just staring at you, going, "Ooh, open me, go on, open me please." And apparently, according to the comments section, there are ways around this. You can apparently buy this with in-game currency. It's just going to take you like 6,000 hours or whatever the number is for you to be able to be at the point where you can buy stuff with in-game currency. Yippee. Players hungry for more Baldur's Gate lore might actually enjoy this title, but I'll be honest, it might just be easier to read a Wikipedia page. One of the most shocking titles I played this year was Lord of the Rings Online, and not for the reasons you may think. It is indeed another MMO based on a popular franchise, I don't know what everyone was smoking 10 years ago, but apparently this was the thing to do. So why was this game so shocking? Well, simply put, despite its age and the fact that it looks very dated, it was a lot of fun to play, and there's a lot of groundbreaking mechanics which aren't in a lot of modern MMOs. You have the ability to change the landscape difficulty, which basically means if you are finding Overland boring and that mobs are just dying from one hit, like every other MMO out there, then you can actually change it to make it more difficult, at the same time allowing you to earn better rewards and bigger experience. But the game's main focus is its storytelling. If you are a Lord of the Rings fan and you just want to soak up some lore, then by all means jump into this title. There's more than enough expansions which you can dip into, and another surprising feature is that the monetization isn't overly aggressive. You can actually earn in-game currency just by playing the game, and I have to say it's very similar to how Guild Wars 2 have done theirs. But one thing I did call out on my review at the start of the year was simply the fact that if another Lord of the Rings MMO comes out, then it might be curtains for this one. Ah yes, good old Amazon, the saviour of MMOs. So after initially saying that they've cancelled their Lord of the Rings MMO, they've actually come back to say that they're going to try again, and that is now back in development. So who knows what knock-on effect this could potentially have with the original Lord of the Rings Online. Star Wars is probably one of the biggest franchises on the planet, and yet to date the only official representation we have of Star Wars in the MMO space is of course Star Wars The Old Republic, which, let's be honest, is looking more and more dated as the years go on. Even though this game is free to play, I still only have 20 hours on record. I'm not sure what it is about this title, maybe it's the dated graphics, maybe it's the clunky combat. Either way, I'm just not drawn into this MMO. And I'm a Star Wars fan, and I've bought some real stupid shit that I probably shouldn't have done as a grown adult simply because it's got Star Wars on it. And yet, when it comes to this MMO, I'm just not there yet. I'm not drawn in. I can't explain it. And I feel like I'm not alone with this line of thinking, because otherwise this MMO would be more popular, and it certainly wouldn't be being taken over by Broadsword. With the EA exclusivity contract being up, hopefully there'll be a new Star Wars MMO in the future. And you have to remember as well, this was the direct replacement for Star Wars Galaxies, which quite honestly was very innovative for its time. I played Star Wars Galaxies for the first time this year, and even as a 20-year-old game, I was more blown away by that than I ever was Star Wars The Old Republic. But hey, maybe I'm just being a bit too harsh, and maybe I just need to put a few more hours before I can truly appreciate this title. Either way though, I would probably give my left testicle for a new Star Wars MMO. Of course, I can't talk about the state of MMOs without talking about World of Warcraft. Now, here's a fun fact for you. I played World of Warcraft for the first time this year. I decided to give Hardcore Classic a try just to see how it would fare. Could I actually reach level 60, or would I die a horrible, horrible, painful death? Spoiler alert, I died a horrible, horrible, painful death. It was very emotional. What's impressive about WoW for me is the fact that it's still number one. It's still the number one MMO to play. Some games have come close to it, but let's be honest, WoW's probably going to be up there for a few more years. The fact that WoW Hardcore Classic managed to emerge as the most popular MMO this year kind of tells you where the state of the other MMOs actually are. And for that, you got to give them credit where credit's due. It is the king. It is the king of MMOs. So what's the state of WoW? It's the same as every year. It's in a good state. And I understand it can have its ups and downs, but let's be honest, it has nowhere near the same issues as some of the other games in this video. So for this section, I want to talk about some games that I've played a little bit of, but not enough to give like a full analysis. So I just want to give them a little nod and just say my first impressions of these games. So first on the list is Final Fantasy XIV, and I just want to say I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Well, at least I was. I kind of drifted off after Final Fantasy X. And if you don't believe me, I have 168 hours just on Steam playing Final Fantasy VIII. Imagine how many hours I put in when the game actually came out. So naturally, I gave Final Fantasy XIV a try, but even after 20 hours, I was still pretty much stuck in the tutorial. I did play a black mage, which I got told was a bad idea, but at the same time, I wanted to recreate Vivi from Final Fantasy IX, so that one's on me. Overall though, I can tell the game's still popular. I can tell just by the amount of cat girls that I saw and cat boys. The combat isn't too bad, and I can see there's more than enough stuff to collect. So the state of this one looks good, I just haven't got around to playing it yet. So old school RuneScape is a game I can tell you straight away I'm just a little too late for. I don't have the nostalgia behind it. I look at it and I just see old janky graphics. But I do appreciate this is probably one of the first MMOs a lot of people actually played. But for me, I've got 2 hours. I did the first bit of the tutorial, but I wasn't gripped by it. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'll ever review this game. I feel like it's almost like I can't, because I can never put in the same amount of hours as everyone else has put in. Either way though, what I'm told by everyone else is that this game still slaps. So the state of RuneScape looks good. And last on the list is Albion Online. I have tried playing this on Steam. I have tried playing this on my mobile phone. I simply have no interest in this game, even with its open world PvP, which by the way, I'm usually a fan of. I just have no interest in playing this game. Maybe next year my mind will change, but for now, I will not be playing this popular title. Shocking, I know. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to anyone who's made it to this point in the video. I know it went on a bit, but I want to be as far as I could whilst also not being too boring. Hopefully I've achieved that. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments below. There was a few MMOs I left out, and that's because I was mainly looking at MMORPGs. And I mean that more in the traditional sense than something like Star Citizen, for example. If you do want a more in-depth review of some of the games I've covered off, I'll leave the playlist in the description below, which will include most of the games that I've shown in this video. And by all means, if you think there's an MMORPG I should probably try, comment below. I might just pick your game. And on that bombshell, I'll end the video. Leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye for now. Oh, and Just Drive Hayes, please don't sue me. Thank you, bye.